You've tuned in to Chip Grooves Radio with Mike and Jesse. It has been quite a minute since I've listened to this soundtrack, but oh boy, it's like coming home, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have a long history with Mega Man?
Yeah. I mean, I played, yes, from like Mega Man 2, but then I kind of fell off after X, and I haven't played any of the X sequels, like, at all.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Oh,
nope.
Wow.
Listened to some great music from them, but I've never played them. I did actually I did pick up Mega Man 11. Played it kind of with my son. We had a real blast with that. So it's a fun game.
Awesome. I picked it up, but I haven't gotten very far. It's been a while since I've even picked it up. But yeah, it looked like a nice little homage to the original Mega Man.
Yeah. It has some kind of cool mechanics, like the speed and power gear system. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we decided, Jesse and I, to get back to a little bit more of chiptunes. And we've done quite a bit of, synthesizer and orchestra lately. And I just had an inkling that I wanted to get back to the roots of the show a little bit. And so we are going to talk about Mega Man 2 today. And this one has always been on the list. I've loved this game since I was a child, as I'm sure you have. You really cannot go wrong with this one, not to give it away, but this is one of the premier soundtracks for the NES. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I would say probably X series aside, because that's kind of a different animal, both stylistically and from a soundtrack standpoint, and the play of the game and like the whole 9 yards. I really think that Mega Man 2 is pretty much the perfect version of a game from this series. I never really felt like any of the subsequent games, with the exception of the more recent Mega Man 11 release, did a whole lot to improve on the formula that they made in Mega Man 2. It's just got like this perfect synthesis of like a great soundtrack, solid mechanics, levels that aren't like overly complicated, just fun, really
which
fun.
Is key.
And, yeah,
very key. I think they really dropped the ball in later entries, especially 8, 9, and 10, where they came back in like the mid to late aughts and did 3 games in the vein of the original NES titles, and they threw everything at you. It was just not fun to me. I was like, this isn't really what I'm looking for, and this is not what the original game was, because the original games were not. It was like Dark Souls Mega Man. I was like, what is happening here? I am not bad at Mega Man games, and this is unbelievable. That being said, it has been about 15 years since I've tried any of those. But
fun fact about difficulty in Mega Man's, a little bit of Mega Man 2 trivia here for you. Did you know that the original release of the game in Japan had only one difficulty setting, and it was the exact same as the difficult setting in the US release? So they made an easier version of the game and marked it as normal for the US and Europe and Australia.
Par for the course.
Yeah.
Yep. Par for the course for North American games. We would always get the dumbed down version, especially not to go back to it, but Final Fantasy games. They would remove half the items and just give you really pared down systems. They would take out abilities because I thought it was too much for us, our feeble Americans, to grasp.
Yeah.
Games like we've talked about, Final Fantasy IV, that was a completely different game.
Yeah.
Not so much in terms of story, but there are a lot of gameplay mechanics that just don't exist.
Standpoint, yeah. Yeah. And it's cool to see that in a lot of like re-releases of the Mega Man series too. But other games from other series, a lot of times they've gone back and actually fixed things, made them more in line with like the original Japanese releases, so that there's some more parity there. Come to find out, people from all over the world are pretty good at games. You just have to kind of trust people to, gravitate.
Just have to believe
that they want to
believe.
Yeah, pretty funny. But I guess in later releases, because Mega Man 2 and like all the other ones, they've been released on like a gazillion different platforms. Ported to every single platform under the sun, and they rectified the difficulty setting thing. But one thing that is kind of funny about it is I was reading some interviews and prep for the episode here, and the items, like items 1, 2, and 3 that you can use in the game, like the little floating platform and what have you, those actually got added because playtesters and players, even in Japan, complained that Mega Man 1 was too punishing. So they added the items to try and reduce the difficulty level a little bit, just a little bit.
And Mega Man 1 can be a little punishing.
Dude, that yellow devil.
Oh, my God. You have to unfocus your eyes. He's like a 3D puzzle. You have to wait for the objects to start flying around before you jump. But oh, man.
Yeah.
That game is rough. A little difficult. Mega Man 2, to touch on an earlier point that you made, is kind of the perfect marriage of gameplay, difficulty, and sound effects and music. This was, for those who may not know, this was the final kick of the can. Mega Man 1 was not a success.
No.
It was, they were lucky to get a sequel. So they're like, you know what, let's put our work into it, our hearts into it, and really make the game we want to make. And this was the final product. And that is out of desperate times, right? You know, these magical things are born, and now we have a series that just won't die. That being said, a lot of people would disagree with that, but he's still around. Mega Man's still around. He's still going to get games, I'm sure of it. But it's one of the classic titles of all time, and that's a really cool Cinderella story, if you will. This was their baby in the moment, and they weren't sure if it was going to be a success, so they wanted to make sure it was the game they wanted it to be. Yeah,
I don't know how true it is, but I'd read that they actually were given the green light to make Mega Man 2, even though Mega Man 1 was not a commercial success, with the instructions that they could not stop development on any of their other projects. So the development team supposedly worked on this game basically just in their free time.
I've got that in my notes here. They were putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort that was their own. It was not mandatory. It was something that they could do on their own, 20-hour days by themselves, doing their normal job and then coming to work on this one. So good on them. I think it paid off.
Did you know that the other cool thing with Mega Man 2, before we talk about the soundtrack, was this was actually the first game in the series that they did a character design or a boss design contest for, and they've kept that going for most of the games in the series. Pretty much every game that came out right up through Mega Man 8, they did character design contests, and you could submit them, and if you were a finalist, you'd get some kind of little kitschy prize. Or
that's awesome.
For Mega Man 2, I think one of the finalist rewards was a VHS, a cassette tape with the original soundtrack on it, and I can't even imagine how much money one of those things would be worth right now.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
I would like to, I'm going to look that up after the show. But
yeah, pretty cool.
Oh, man.
Pretty cool.
Well, today we are talking about the Mega Man 2 soundtrack by Takashi Tateishi, also with limited credits to Manami Matsumae, who did the score of the first game. She had been moved to the arcade division. I'm not sure if you knew that, but it was much more prestige than the home console division. So she was on her way out into bigger and better things. But Takashi Tateishi, his parents, from what I understand, were both school teachers, and they definitely wanted him to be a teacher as well. So he ended up ending his school career with an economics degree. So he played in a band in school where he learned to play the keyboard, but he was not classically trained, which is very important. When he found the listing for Capcom, he was working at an advertising firm, and he applied. So that is the start of his story.
No kidding. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. As we've said, this is oft memorialized as the best soundtrack in not only the series, but almost is always in the conversation for best soundtracks of all time. Tateishi took a relatively new approach to this game's soundtrack. He really infused it with the idea of it being rock music or even metal, Anyone who knows the soundtrack knows it is a nerd musician's heaven. While most games back then had more classical motifs, Tateishi really chose his alternate path, and I think it succeeded because it really paved the way for the rest of the Mega Man series, including X, I think. They really took some chances that really turned Mega Man into this series that had anthems. They were just songs that you could play on loop. I don't want to say it was instant magic. Tateishi was relatively new to video games, and he had started working on them with a game called Mad Gear. When he got the job for Mega Man 2, he was filling the shoes left by Matsumae. And Tateishi has said in interviews that his first few attempts at writing for the game were actually rejected by director Akira Kitamura for being too cutesy. The only track to make it through on the first run, and I thought this was interesting, was Crash Man's theme. That is the one track from the quote-unquote cutesy phase that made it onto the game. Ironically, it's one of my favorite tracks, simply because it really stands out from the rest of the album. Now, gun to my head, it probably doesn't make the top 3 or even 5, but it is a fun little tune, and I think having the context that it was considered to be too cute, the more I've been thinking about it over the past few days, the more I can just kind of graft it in my mind to other platforming video games of the time.
It's like
it does have a really bouncy feel to it.
Very stylistically different. Very.
Yeah, very much. So I can understand it. I'm very intrigued to see what those other songs sounded like, but apparently they have been lost to time. So now, this soundtrack is relatively short. I thought we could just talk a little bit about it. Maybe even the game as a whole. I know it's a NES game, so the soundtracks really are pared down compared to what we have been covering. But there is a drastic difference in the music compared to the first game with Mega Man 2. So with tremendous respect for Matsumae, the first game does have some of those cutesy elements that they were trying to avoid with this one. And I can kind of see why Kitamura rejected those on this go-around, because I guess you'd have to think of it from a money-making perspective. The first one didn't really work. Not to say the music's bad, but part of that success does lie on the music and does lie on the gameplay. So maybe he just had like a mindset where he wanted to take a completely different route somehow. And maybe that was part of the sacrifice there. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that going out on a limb and making a soundtrack the way that they did, that was such a divergence from, quite honestly, like from just the way that soundtracks were made at this point in the NES's life cycle. This is a very early game, and it didn't come out that much longer after the original Mega Man. It was a little bit of a risk for sure, because you go to like an arcade. We're talking about the arcade division being very prestigious. There aren't really that many arcade games from that time period that stand out to me as having really fantastic soundtracks. A lot of times they're very, they're kind of pared down.
Background noise.
They're just background noise. And they kind of get lost in the noise of the arcade. They tend to be, very kind of bare bones songs. Getting away from that into something that really had a very kind of musical quality to it, more so than most of the other soundtracks very early in the console's history, was, I think a little bit of a risk, but it really paid off. It set the stage for, years of innovation in the soundtrack and OST genre.
Yeah. To comment on kind of the mentality, I think, of the first game's soundtrack, there is only a couple songs. I don't even want to say a handful. A couple songs on there that don't start the same way. Like there's like a short build up to the song, and then it goes into a bouncy theme, or a bass drop and then a bouncy theme. She did a great fucking job. The songs are fun to listen to. But I think as a whole, the series took a different direction after the first game. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is her soundtrack almost is like what you're talking about, where it's kind of a paint by numbers. This is how you make a soundtrack to a video game. This is what it should have. Here's the formula you can follow for how games are right now. And they are very coherent songs, and they're well-written songs. But then Tateishi comes along, and every song is different, and it's got a life of its own. And this song's going here, and this one's a little depressing, and this one's a metal anthem for nerds. It's like every level felt very, very unique. And I have to give him credit for that, because, yeah, I think that push to be a little bit different from the director is that push that's like, hey, we can try different things, and the right motivation and the right composer, you get something like this where it's, well, I'm gonna really go off the deep end here and see what I can produce. If I were to compare Matsumae's soundtrack to this one, I would say hers is very bright.
Yeah.
And Tateishi's takes a little bit darker of a tone. It gives Mega Man a little bit more to chew on in terms of seriousness. It's still Mega Man. Let's not get crazy. It's not super serious, but he does have a much more serious tone in his soundtrack. And I love a good bit of desperation, darkness, and whatnot. This album does have that at least a little bit for the NES.
I think one of the things that this soundtrack really screams to me that the original doesn't so much is futuristic, which is exactly what the game is supposed to be. You're playing a robot that goes around the world fighting robots. It's supposed to be futuristic. And I feel like this soundtrack really kind of encapsulates that theme, really in kind of a nice, concise, and beautiful way.
Absolutely. The game itself opens with cues from Matsumae's final track, which is very important. It's an important move, not only to tell us that it takes place right after the first game, but also that the adventure is starting anew. The track referenced was the credits theme from the first game. Very happy, very jovial. This one starts with the somber, reflective key of the first melody, and then just explodes into this galloping guitar riff that has become iconic. And it's short, fast, and extremely powerful to just plunge us into the action. And the first track I really want to draw attention to is Woodman's stage.
It's a good one.
It's a medium to fast tempo, starting with a very powerful drum intro that really gives us that forest or jungle vibe. But when the song gets going, the double bass and guitar gallop to provide such a deep sounding backbone, which I think is the right move here. It keeps the jungle aesthetic while that lead guitar just sings a great melody. Typically, also, the stage I start with. I don't know about you, but...
I'm usually a Metal Man first kind of guy.
Metal Man
first, yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But Woodman works. It's not too hard a boss to beat just with the Mega Buster. So, you know.
Yeah.
The thing that I really think ties this particular track together, and this was on my list for sure, like this is easily one of my favorites in the soundtrack, is the use of percussion. I feel like that percussion all the way through the track, it really keeps the tempo up. It keeps you engaged. It keeps it sounding exciting. When, you know, if you didn't have that background percussion beat going through the whole song, it might sound just a little bit hollow, and it just keeps it going and going and going and going and going. And I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The emphasis on the percussion is what helps sell the scene, right? You know, you're in a forest level or futuristic forest, whatever. it just brings it forward. It was an added touch to tell you this is where you're at. And I think even the lead guitar, it's in front, it's got a melody, but it's the meat of the song is the bass and the percussion. Yeah. So really, really excellent song.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, speaking of songs that have interesting background beats and stuff that kind of carries you through the whole song, I would say that one of my favorites on the whole soundtrack is going to be Quick Man. It's so good. Oh, my God. Like, listening to it now as, you know, more of an appreciator of music, such as I am, I never really fully appreciated the way that they integrate the just raw electronics sounds. Like, it sounds like what you would imagine a circuit board would sound like if you could hear it. Mm-hmm. Little, you know, zaps of electricity arcing from one chip to another. And I mean, Lord knows the stage is frenetic, to say the least. Like, it's
oh my God,
it is something else. My son tried to play through this, and he got so frustrated trying to do this stage that he had to put the controller down and walk away.
Let me guess. Yeah. The orange things that fly across the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear the sound of those in my head right now. Yeah,
those things were nightmare-inducing when you're playing this game, because one pixel off, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not in the perfect position, you will die.
Yep.
And it's like run ending if you're a speedrunner, and it's extremely frustrating. So that is one of the. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. Even as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever I was, it took some learning.
Yeah,
and I found myself spending countless nights on stuff like that. It was like, but it felt so good when you got it right.
Oh my God,
like, fuck you, Quick Man.
So good when you finally got past one of the segments with the, you know, laser beam shooting from the side of the screen, and then you realize that you have to get through like 2 more, and you're gonna have to start the stage all over again if you die, because there's no checkpoints.
It's that fucking hesitation, right?
Yeah,
because you don't know the next screen's got a few more.
Yep.
So if you stop even for a second, you're like,
toast.
Oh no,
toast.
So you have to actually die. So oh, great stage, great fucking music. And yeah, that circuit board analogy is perfect, because that song, even for a machine like the Nintendo, was demonstrating what it could do through tweaks in the sound chip and making it sound like little sparks of electricity, something that wasn't grating on the ears. We know there are plenty of times I've mentioned bad chip work on NES soundtracks, but yeah, this one's really cool in that it's just got kind of a somber melody to it, as again, the lead is taking a little bit of a backseat to that snappy chip electronic sound effect that they're doing. So I think it's just a wonderful stage, and it really sells where you're at, which is perfect.
Yeah, and it's cool because like you can imagine what it would sound like without that kind of electronic squelchy sound effect throughout the whole track. And it would be fine. It's a perfectly good song. It's got nice complexity to it. It's got nice flow. The loop is nice. But then that just adds that little extra something. And
just a little something.
I mean, whoever thought to inject that into the song is a freaking genius, I'm sure. Yeah. Amazing. So
fun to listen to. Now, I wanted to ask you a question. You have not played, you said you have not played many, or is that just
of the series?
That's just the Mega Man X games.
Yeah, so my first game in the series was Mega Man 2. I don't think I went back and played Mega Man 1 until like way later. But I owned, I think it was like Mega Man 2, 3, 4, went back and bought 1, played X on the Super Nintendo. And then I don't think I ever played like X2, X3, and I'm pretty sure I never played anything past 4. I'll have to check. I might have played 5 now that I think about it. And then I didn't get back to it until, Mega Man 11, which I just was telling you that I'd been playing with my son. And I think is a great homage to the originals in the game, and much, much, much better than I've heard some of the later iterations of the series were.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
Okay, so in the original series, and it doesn't, you have to give it a lot of thought, but if you had to pick, who is your favorite robot master?
Favorite robot?
Not necessarily from 2, but it could be from any of the games you've played other than X.
See, it's tough because you get into X and it's that gets real.
It's a whole different ballgame.
A lot of contention there. A lot of contention for that top spot.
Oh yeah.
I would say favorite. It sounds kind of weird. I really kind of liked Skullman. I think he was from like 4.
Okay.
He was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's 4.
But I think absolute favorite. It's I really like Metal Man. Like he's just cool.
Yep.
He's cool as hell. His level's awesome. His music is great. I mean, it's just
yep.
Great.
Well, you stole mine, but that's okay because I let you go first. That's totally fine. Yeah, it's all about that 8-direction saw, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the winner right there. You cannot go wrong with it. So great battle, great level, and such a great weapon to acquire because it ruins the rest of the game.
Hence the reason I always did the Metal Man stage first, because it, makes a lot of their game a lot easier.
Yeah. I suppose that's true. I guess I never really thought of that.
Yeah. Usually I would do Woodman second because Heatman's weapon is better against Woodman, but Metal Man's weapon still works really well against him, so it's fine. You just follow through there. I think let me try. Hold on. Let's see if I can remember the boss order by heart here. So it was, for me, it was Metal Man to Woodman. Woodman was good against Bubble Man, right? Yeah, I think so. No, I've forgotten it. It's gone.
I don't think that's right.
No,
I don't think that's right.
See, I've already failed. I got 2 bosses in and I'm already wrong.
Failed.
Yeah, terrible.
Awful.
Terrible.
I think technically, Flashman is the number 1. If I recall, he is supposed to be the weakest, and his only attack is freezing you. Other than, Okay, so Flashman is the weakest of all the robot masters, is what I'm seeing here. Quickman, the trick to Quickman, he slows away the hell down if you hit him.
His health just ticks down, which is kind of a cool thing. It caught me by surprise when I was doing it. And then at that point, it's in track with what I thought it was, which was Metal Man, then Woodman, then Airman, then Crash Man, then Bubble Man, then Heat Man. So I just did it all out of order, evidently. All right.
That's okay. I didn't do it in order. I don't think I really ever did Flashman first, but maybe I did. Yeah, I think I always went to Woodman, but whatever. Yeah, that's good stuff. So how about you? I know we've talked a little bit about the differences between Matsumae's soundtrack to what Tateishi brought to the table. A little bit more serious in tone is the album. Even the boss select scene. Can I just put that out there?
Oh yeah.
If you go from Mega Man 2, it is a mission. You're like, what's my next target? Let's get this done. I got to succeed in my objective here. And then you go back and it's like, I'm getting ready for work.
Yeah.
Another day at the office. It's just got a completely different feel. So again, I think I realized what the director was saying.
Yeah.
No disrespect.
No, absolutely not.
It's just two completely different ways to do it, I guess is my point.
And I think that a lot of that comes down to the era that the original game was released in. It wasn't like it was drastically different than Mega Man 2, but
no.
Video gaming when Mega Man 1 and like the original launch titles of the NES came out, console gaming was very, very new market. I mean, like Atari had done stuff, but like Atari didn't really have the chips to do soundtracks the way that the NES did.
No.
Vastly, vastly different. I mean, it was like beeps and boops, and there was very little music. The majority.
Yeah.
None of the soundtracks stand out, if there were even any.
Because we're talking about Mega Man, the best example of how seriously video games were taken. Just look at the first 2 games box art. They had no idea what these things were, in America at least.
No.
It's like,
yeah,
this is a kid's thing. This is a toy. It's a man in a helmet with a gun.
Right.
It's like, no.
Right. Fighting against a guy that looks like he's just in a superhero costume dodging around. And then a dude with a drill for a hand and like a helmet with a flip down visor. Like, it's ridiculous. Makes no sense whatsoever.
It's ridiculous.
If you want to see something real goofy, look up the Mega Man 2 arcade art.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's something
I think
special.
I've seen this.
I'll see if I can find it. Link it to you. You can just edit around this because it's hilarious.
Is it the silver guy?
The silver guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen
the silver guy. And then there's like the dragon, which is in the game, but in the picture it's all silver and doesn't look at all like the dragon in the game.
Doesn't look robotic
and then there's
at all.
Like a weird face that looks like it's made out of clay up in the top right hand corner. Like, it's ridiculous. There's a dude that just looks like a shadow, like something out of a horror movie. No, makes no sense at all. It looks like something from the cover of a 70s sci-fi book.
Yeah. 70s sci-fi movie or something.
Yeah. Wild.
Space Mutiny. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, but see, that's just an idea. I mean, I know that's the artwork. It's not the game itself. But the mentality around these things were like, they just weren't understood at the time. It was a new thing. This was a quote unquote kids market where it didn't really have to be anything. But when the first game came out, there was the reason there was a jovial sound to it, a bouncy tune to every level. Every level just about has a very bright song to it. And Mega Man 2 just off-ramped to a different level. So that's what helps set it apart from everything else. Give me one of your songs.
I mean, ones that you picked. If I had to pick an number one favorite song, I'm going to say the title song is pretty amazing. Like, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But if I had to pick just one more, it would have to be Dr. Wily Stage 1. I don't think it gets better than this on this soundtrack.
You know that's on my list.
Oh, boy. It is so good.
Yeah. And this is one of those tracks that I was talking about with it's a metal anthem. Any nerd out there who plays a guitar learned how to play this song. And it is a banger. I will let you talk about it. It's your track.
Yeah, I mean, this song, it starts out hard and heavy from the very first second. I mean, it's from a stylistic standpoint, it really lets you know that you're in like the last level. That you've done everything else in the game. You've beaten all 8 of the bosses. Now you have to go take on Dr. Wily. And it's not like a particularly difficult level until you get to the fucking dragon that starts chasing you and knocking your platforms down. And you get hit by his flame one time and you get knocked off and die. That was a little bit of a change from the rest of the game, let me tell you. Good thing there's a password system in this game like there wasn't in the first one. It just goes through these different segments, 30, 45 seconds apart, that just keep ramping up. And then you get a little bit of a breather, calm down a little bit. You get the kind of blippy, bloppy, bloopy, little more, happy sounding stuff. And then right back into it. Right back into it. Phenomenal song.
Oh, my God. Complete with that heavy guitar, that galloping beat, and that dose of desperation I keep talking about. This song really does have it all. And the back half of the song, I'll say the back half of the verse, it gets darker and it evolves twice into an interlude that just wraps up the whole loop, and it just nicely swings back into that galloping beat. It's such a dynamic song with multiple parts that just keep changing. And there's another song like this, not quite as short, but I covered it on the Naoki Kodaka block way, way long time ago. Journey to Silius. There is a song that plays through, and then it plays through again, and then again. But every time it plays through, it's just a little bit different. Something else is happening. And this song doesn't quite do that, but towards the end, there are so many parts that are building up. The emotions inside you, your palms are fucking sweating because the song's so good, and you're just having a blast playing the game. This song never gets old.
And then you get Dr. Wily Stage 2, which is just super repetitive and not that great. So that's just me, though.
Not that great.
Not that great.
It's definitely different, but I never found it annoying. I don't know why, because it is very repetitive. I don't know if it's just it's like it's twisting the knife. Like you're almost there, you're getting closer to the end, but you got to sit through this song for a few minutes.
One thing I got a dog on the soundtrack a little bit for this, because like it's amazing, and I think the highs are like really, really high. Like they come riding in at like 11 and 12. There's a few dogs in there though. I gotta say, even as a kid, I was pretty disappointed. Yeah, I think Heatman's actually pretty good, to be honest. But
it's not bad, but I would say it's on the lower tier.
I was genuinely disappointed that there's no last boss music in this game. Like there's just not.
Fair. That's fair.
It's so bizarre, because if you go and listen to the soundtrack and you listen to like the last stage sound, it's literally just the sound of all the like drops hitting the ground. It's not even music.
Which really would have been, if you think about it, that would have been an awesome segue to a killer song. Like a brand new song you're never going to hear anywhere else in the game. I didn't mean
last boss. I meant last stage music. Sorry. I just realized there is last boss music. I meant last stage.
It's just the normal boss music,
though.
Well, no, I get it. Yeah.
I mean, it's intimidating. I'll give you that. Like you're running through the stage. It's all black. You can't see where you're going most of the time. There's these like acid drops that are landing in front of you. You have to dodge around.
Yeah, it's like acid or something.
Yeah, but that was a little weird to me at the time.
I wonder if he ran out of room.
Yeah.
It can only hold so much.
Only hold so much.
Excellent choice. It was on my list, so I'm not going to fault you for choosing that one before me. That one's you cannot mention this game and not have that song pop in your head. It dominates the conversation for anything having to do with music for this game. So my next choice is actually going to be Airman's stage.
Classic.
And I want to be clear. It may have sounded like I was being a little harsh about Matsumae's soundtrack. That is not at all what I meant, what I intended. She did her job, and it is a very good soundtrack, and it set the stage for what Mega Man could be. This song is her contribution to this album. And she contributed this track to Mega Man 2 as Tateishi was having a little trouble coming up with a melody. So they kind of swapped places for a track, and he did something on her game and she did something on this game. And I want to use this track because even though it is her only track, it is one of the standout tracks for me. It says a lot right there. She contributes one song, and it's often one of the favorites. This track alone demonstrates her ability to grow and adapt. It is drastically different than her tracks written for MM1. This track slides right into the different feel that Tateishi has given Mega Man 2. It's a little bit more serious in tone, and it doesn't even faze her. She knows exactly what she's doing. This song really does such a good job at being purposeful. The song's melody is slower and more methodical, so as not to get the player too agitated and focused on what they're doing. Because on this stage, one wrong step and it's curtains, right? You know, you're falling to your death. So she did such a great job at having a really catchy tune and something that helped you focus on a level where one wrong step and you're dead.
Yeah, it really is a standout soundtrack or standout song on the soundtrack for me as well. And you can tell that there's some stylistic difference there. Same thing with the Crashman song. Like it's there's a very distinct difference between it and a lot of the other songs on the soundtrack, but it fits the stage in a way that I don't think the style of many of the other songs on the soundtrack would have. And you can tell that, it's coming from a different place compositionally. And I can see why the composer for the rest of the soundtrack would struggle with this stage. And I'll tell you what, this song really absolutely nails it. It absolutely does.
Yeah. There's nothing like fighting through a level high up in the sky. You're right. It captures the setting. And it's swingy enough, just kind of coming back and forth in the melody. It just really, really keeps you in a good groove. And I think she did a phenomenal job with this song.
Yeah. Kudos. It's a great one.
And you mentioned the mini bosses, the last episode or the one before. And I believe I heard a medley that they did of Mega Man 2.
Just
and
listening to it
when they did this one, I was like, this is so good.
So good.
Oh,
I think they start with Airman. I'm pretty sure that's the first song in the medley. Yeah. For anybody who isn't familiar with the mini bosses, quick little plug. I'm pretty sure that they're the first, or at least the first credited video game cover band like ever. I could be wrong, but yeah. I'm pretty sure they're the first. They were from my neck of the woods. They used to play at Brandeis University in Mass, and never got a chance to see them in concert. But I wish I would have when I was, when they were playing, and I was still in Massachusetts. They actually have an album, a live album that they recorded at the Middle East, which is like a really famous club in Cambridge. Still there, pretty cool place. But yeah, they were a big inspiration to me because they started kind of coming on the scene in like high school, college around that time. Yep. And I didn't know that video game music could sound so cool. And then I started listening to their covers of like the Mega Man 2 medley and Punch Out and Castlevania. And I was blown away. Very cool stuff. Look them up, people. They
are worth it. And fuck. Being a bass player, I've always wanted to get into. I need to find a video game cover band so I can do it myself. But I would have a lot of fun with that.
Just convince your bandmates to play Rip and Tear sometime, and then that'll get the stage set, and you can do other stuff. I don't even know what kind of music you play. I'm a terrible person, but
metal mostly. But nice. I mean, the band I was just in. Spoiler alert! I quit the other day, just because it was getting to be way too much. I had so much on my plate, but yeah, I mean, they did a bunch of rock pop music from 70s all the way till now. But as a musician, I'm more of a metalhead.
Just up my alley.
Good stuff, man. And again, another reason why Wily Stage 1 is so popular with me. Yeah, do you have one more song, or do you want to go into final thoughts, sir?
Honestly, there's a lot of other real gems on this soundtrack, and realistically, like, you could probably just listen to the whole thing in one sitting. Most of the songs are like, a minute to maybe 2.5 minutes max, because they're all loops. I mean, they just play and play. I think that we've really hit the high points for me.
And that was one of the things we had talked about before the show. We were like, we don't want to play the whole album because we could easily do that.
Yeah.
So,
we could literally, if we just listen to it straight through, I think according to the soundtrack thing I'm looking at, it's 26 minutes. And we typically have longer episodes than that. So we could just have it playing in the background.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a quick listen, folks. Give it a go.
Quick listen, but extremely worth it. You cannot go wrong with this album. It has stood that test of time with its anthems, its pacing, and Tateishi's intuitive and outside-the-box thinking for what video game soundtracks and Mega Man could be. He breathed new life into the series because, again, let's face it, the first game did not go so well. He revamped the idea of what Mega Man is with his desperate, driving, and dynamic score. He showcases the situation with powerful and at times even somber melodies, but really stops off to get playful, a la Crashman. Just a truly magnificent soundtrack for a truly magnificent game. I'm so happy Matsumae got to contribute to this as well, because without her contributions to the first game, Mega Man as we know him wouldn't have had the character she injected into him. So without her pieces on this soundtrack, it would have definitely suffered.
Yeah, really a work of art. And, you know, like I said, we have a lot to thank both of the composers for, because quite frankly, they really did set the tone for all of, well, not all of, but many of the phenomenal soundtracks that were going to be to come later on, and the kind of the history and the lifespan of the NES and all the way up through SNES and beyond.
Jesse, I have often wondered, and this is just a jokey little segment that I've got that's been gnawing at my brain for years. What does a normal day look like for the Robot Masters? I mean, I've often asked myself, what is the point of building these robots? For some, I get it. You know, let's say in this universe, they have Robot Masters do very specific things that contribute to everyday society. Maybe Bomb Man is an explosives expert who lives in a quarry, or Airman is a flying base that studies the weather and helps keep things atmospherically okay. Not wholly unbelievable in this universe. What is the point of Bubble Man?
He is an underwater observer in a level full with spikes that kill you when you walk into them. I just know. It's kind of funny you should mention that, because like I can see uses, so to speak, or jobs
there are
that
some.
All of these different robots do. I mean, really all of them, even in this game, even Bubble Man, if I'm being honest. Okay, but I think that this is the last one, and there's only 2 games in the series before this, or 1 game in the series before this. But I think this is the last one where I can really envision a real world job for all of the robots in the game. Because then you start getting into 3 with like Snake Man. Like, what the fuck does Snake Man do?
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Skull Man.
Skull
Why are you Skull Man?
Pharaoh
what is going
Man.
on?
What
Pharaoh
does Pharaoh
Man. Exactly.
do? Yeah. I mean, let me look at this. Mega Man 3. Hold on. I gotta remember.
Don't even get me
the
started
bosses.
with the later entries. You've got Sheep Man, Centaur Man,
and stuff. Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
So like we look at Mega Man 3, we've got Needle Man. Like, I guess maybe I can envision something. Magnet Man makes sense. Sure. Gemini Man, I have no idea what he's supposed to do. Hard
He's
Man,
a superhero.
by the way. Hard Man, really bad name for an enemy.
Awesome name.
He's a man.
Awesome
and he's really hard. Ugh, okay.
I'm pretty sure I saw him in a movie.
Right. But then we get into like Top Man and Snake Man. Like, hold on. Hold the phone. You saw Hard Man in a movie. Oh man. Yeah. Anyway.
Over and over.
Over and over.
Yeah. And it's mostly a joke. You know, obviously it's just a game. I don't put that much thought into it. But the idea that the world exists and these robot masters, before they go evil or whatever, or even if they were built to do certain things and be evil, it's like, who needs Needleman? What are you good for? What is your job? Please tell me. Because the only thing I can imagine Bubble Man doing...
He's a giant tattoo gun. Holy crap. We figured it out.
I take that. I will take that.
We figured it out.
The only thing I can think Bubble Man does, he just stands at the end of a conveyor belt and puts suds into those little bubble blowy things.
Like, can you imagine
those plastic containers?
All the robot masters getting together for, a beer after a hard day at work at whatever job they have, and they're all talking about the stuff that they can do. And Heatman's like, I can breathe fire, and Woodman is like, I can make a leaf shield because that's cool, I guess. And then they ask Bubble Man what he can do, and he just kind of puts out his arm, and just a bubble it just falls down on the ground.
What?
Well.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, I enjoyed the episode today. I think it was a long time coming. Mega Man 2. Do yourselves a favor. Check out the soundtrack, Takashi Tateishi. You can buy, ladies and gentlemen, the soundtrack, I believe, in a set for 2 and 3 on Laced Records. And I believe it's possible it might be still available, the 1 through 8 collection, which is also Laced Records. I have that upstairs. It is beautiful in the nice blue bomber colors. They come in light blue, dark blue, light blue, dark blue records. Excellent. And yeah, if you can't find those, definitely just check him out, show him some love, and listen to one of gaming's best soundtracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Give it a listen, folks. You won't regret it.
And it's really only a half hour of your life. So
yeah, exactly.
Get over it. Well, that's the episode. Jesse, if you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
See everybody. For anybody in the Boston area, if you want to go to the Hilton near the airport this weekend, you can hang out with me while I run a Malifaux tournament.
Ooh.
Yeah, it should be fun. There'll be beers and karaoke afterwards, too. Too bad I can't sing very many video game OSTs because there's no words in most of them. But yeah.
You can be the lead guitar.
Probably, for any of them that actually do have words, I'd probably know the lyrics better than I would just about any other song, unless it's like Metallica, because those are burned into my brain forever.
Right. Metallica's the best.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, and we will see you next time.
See you, everybody.
Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe. We very much appreciate it. Also visit our brand new website, magusmediaproductions.net, to get all information on every show. See you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me.
Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did. Never mind.
Try again.
Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
John?
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, we like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.